What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the TokenMinorities, and I'm here with my upload from the NPL versus PPL League War. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with what's going on here, if you look back on our channel, probably, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe a little more at this, definitely more at this point, we had a league war. We, the NPL, the National Pokeball League, had a league war against a league called the National Pokemon League, and that was somewhat of a grudge match per se because we had the same name and we wanted to prove which was the better NPL. Anyways, we decided to continue that, and we decided to challenge the Pokemon Premier League, a very respected draft league, to a league war, and we were fortunate enough for them to accept it. So we kind of did the same old thing like we did against the other NPL, where we had 15 coaches from both sides paired up against each other, 1 against 1, all the way down. We ranked our rosters 1 to 15. I got ranked number 4, and that's probably a little bit of a generous ranking, quite honestly, but even so, I'm ranked number 4. I'm battling against the number 4 ranked player from the PPL. That is Kyle, Ktothe2. Now, for those who have been around watching me playing draft format from the beginning, you would know he was my first win. So it's kind of cool to see this come full circle like this, and that I had the chance to start off my ORAS draft format career with a win against this man, and now I have the opportunity to end my draft format career in ORAS. Of course, I'm continuing in Sun and Moon against the same guy, and Kyle, Ktothe2, coach of the Harlem Gloomtrotters. So I'm definitely excited for this opportunity to come full circle and show that what I've really learned throughout this generation and draft format. That's what this matchup means to me. It's showing that, hey, I have improved a lot and I can keep getting better too. So this is really a fun matchup for me for sure based upon that alone. But just even so, he's a really good player. So it's going to be a fun, challenging series. I'm going to be tested. I'm going to have to really bring my A game in every single game, as this is a best of 3 series against him. I'm going to have to bring multiple good teams. I can't just be one and done like I like to be in true league play, and that when I'm actually in the middle of a season, because I can bring my best stuff right away and just solidify a win because my sets are really hard to predict. Here, I have to really be careful on how I approach my matches, and with that in mind, my prep is definitely tweaked in these games. I'm not bringing all of my best stuff immediately, because that's simply not wise in this kind of context. So I'm going to kind of talk you through my thought process in my building. That said, I am actually bringing Kyle on with me for this narration once we get into the actual battles, so you will hear a little bit of his perspective, but at this point I'm just talking you through my thought process at the team preview, as well as my game plan in terms of my preparation and my battling moving forward. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the team matchups, and then I'll talk about how I plan to approach it. So this team matchup, I have Clefable, Megalopunny, Nidoqueen, Thundurus, Teach, Starmie, Tangrowth, and Arcanine on my team. So this really is, in a sense, my dream team when it comes to draft format. I only get 7 Pokemon, that's fine. I literally got every single Mon I could have possibly wanted on this team to support the core of Clefable, Megalopunny, and Nidoqueen. So really, this draft is really, really nice for me. Just in general, it's very, very nice draft, and there's very few things that are able to give me a tough matchup per se. That said, it just so happens that some of the very, very few tough matchups that this group of 7 Pokemon would have, my opponent has 3 of them. Those being the Talonflame, which if he runs Bulk Up Taunt, if you look at my roster, I really don't have much for a Bulk Up Taunt Talonflame. Latias, which happens to switch into everything on my team bar Clefable. That's a problem. And of course, there's actually 4 Pokemon that give me a hard time here. The Weavile is able to always check my Starmie because of the ability to run Band of Pursuit, Life Orb Pursuit, anything like that. It essentially guarantees I can only Rapid Spin once unless I'm running a Colbert Berry. So that's threatening to say the least. But then probably and I wouldn't say the biggest threat, but it's a very strong threat against my team. That is the Nidoqueen, as defensively I cannot switch into Nidoqueen at all, so it means I have to run a more offensively oriented team, at least in terms of my speed, as I can't let a Wall Breaker Nidoqueen break me down. Essentially, it is just the presence of Nidoqueen just entirely deters me from running defensive Clefable, and that kind of sucks because unaware Clefable is really nice against Latias, as a boosting Latias otherwise can be a huge problem if I don't run unaware, and unfortunately I'm going to actually have to let that be a possibility without running unaware, because if I run unaware I'm just going to lose Pokemon every time he goes into Nidoqueen. So I have to run offensive Clefable essentially in all of my games, and by offensive it doesn't necessarily mean I can't run bulk, it just means that my item needs to be offensive enough, or my item and my set has to be offensive enough to where I can pressure the Nidoqueen to where it doesn't feel like it can switch in freely every single time. And essentially going into game 1, that is my thought, that I need to set the stage immediately and tell him visually through the battle that Nidoqueen is not a safe switch in. And I'm doing that by running a modest max special attack, Life Orb, Ice Beam on my Clefable, which does over half to almost every Nidoqueen set. So that's definitely part of the game plan for game 1 moving forward. But just in general, some of the reasons, I guess, why some of these Pokemon are really big threats to my team, starting with Latias, as sub Calm Mind Latias against my team is so deadly, okay, because it can switch in against the likes of Tangrowth, Starmie, Thundurus really, really easily and just set up a sub, and I can't break its sub most of the time unless I'm running something like Knockoff on Thundurus T, or unless I'm running like, I guess, Ice Beam on Starmie, but really I don't like Ice Beam in this matchup because I need other coverage to be able to break through him, essentially, because he has that nasty Gastrodon, for example, that's really a huge nuisance to me defensively. And then he does have the Skarmory, which switches into Mega Lopunny pretty well, so really this matchup's hard. It's really hard. That said, I don't think it's a one-sided matchup in his favor because I have a lot of big threats to him as well. It's just a little trickier for me to win a best-of-3 series whenever he has, quite honestly, perfect checks to my entire team. So I'm going to really have to pull all the tricks out of the bag in this series to be able to come through. That was the plan all along regardless, but just the team composition at preview essentially enforces that. I'll have to be able to do that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting for sure here, just looking at the matchups. But as far as my game plan moving forward, in game 1, I don't want to play too off. I don't want to prepare in really off-the-wall ways. And by that, I mean I can bring sets that my first instinct says are probably pretty good sets against him. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's those second instinct sets that I cannot bring in game 1. I simply cannot, because it's pulling all of the tricks out before I necessarily need them to come out. So for example, there's some pretty nasty Clefable sets that I can definitely run against his team. I don't have to run those in game 1, and I don't intend to run those in game 1, but I am running offensive Clefable with 3 coverage moves. I believe it's Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Moonblast in game 1, and as you can see, looking at his team, it's actually pretty effective overall. Just some other sets that could be really good. Taunt Super Fang Nidoqueen is probably the best Nidoqueen set against him. I'm not bringing that in game 1. I'll probably consider that in game 2, as you'll see in a little bit. But that's not a set that I can reveal in game 1. But what I am bringing in game 1 is a, I believe it's a Smackdown Earth Power set, which is relatively decent against him. It's not amazing because he does have the Latias, but I'll run that in conjunction with Ice Beam and Stealth Rock on the Nidoqueen to put in a little bit of damage against him as well. As far as the other mons I plan to bring in in the first game, Thundurus T is pretty good against him offensively. It doesn't outspeed the things that I'd like it to outspeed, but it does serve as an excellent check to the Skarmory. Quite frankly, it's a counter to Skarmory. And it's also nice in terms of dealing damage to the Gastrodon as well as the Nidoqueen, not necessarily OHKOing either of them, but just doing a lot of damage to both. Is really helpful for things like my Lopunny and things like even my Arcanine if I choose to run offensive set, for example. Starmie, obvious spinner, probably in every single game I have. Tangrowth doesn't have the best matchup overall because he has so many things that hit it super effectively, but hilariously, hardly any of those can actually OHKO me, so Tangrowth is stupid fat, and I'll definitely be looking forward to abusing that bulk here in this series. And then finally, Arcanine, quite frankly, my best defensive presence against him, as it's able to switch in well against offensive Talonflame, it's able to do well against offensive Mega Lopunny. Not that defensive Mega Lopunny exists, but support sets exist, so I'm talking about offensive return, high jump kick, all that stuff. It switches in well against that kind of thing. It's also nice to switch into Weavile, despite the fact that I don't really want to get knocked off, as I will be running Rocky Helmet in every single game no matter what. It's still, you know, it can switch into Weavile and take a hit and prevent something else from dying if at all necessary. But that said, with my defensive stuff, I have to try to outpace Nidoqueen or make sure Nidoqueen cannot KO me, and that'll be the game plan for the entire series. Keep Nidoqueen a non-factor and focus then on the likes of Talonflame and Latias and make sure they cannot sweep me, because if I can keep those two in check as well as Nidoqueen and avoid major losses to Weavile, I should be able to win the series, but it's not exactly easy to do that. So I have talked here for about 10 minutes. I think that's all you really need to know at this point. I'll explain more as the battles go on. I'm going to go ahead and bring my friend Kyle, the coach of the Harlem Gloomtrotters, into this recording now, and you'll be able to hear both of our perspectives shortly. Alright, and here we are with Game 1 of this series between myself and Kyle Ktothe2, the coach of the Harlem Gloomtrotters. I know I said he was going to be here for this narration and make it a co-com, but Camtasia had other plans, and we lost the part with his vocals on it. So I am going to be alone due to our schedules, and I do apologize for that little bit of confusion, but I'll try to do my best to explain his thought processes, wow, as well as we go through this. So, looking at team preview a little bit, just briefly going over my team. I have Mega Lopunny, Jolly, Max Speed, with Fake Out and Quick Attack, as well as Return and High Jump Kick, just a general utility and powerhouse against his team. Nothing too fancy there. Thunderous is enough speed to outpace, I believe, a Adamant T-Flame. I think it was an Adamant T-Flame. Might be wrong on that, but it's pretty speedy. It also has max special attack and the rest in bulk to effectively take hits from Talonflame. It is a leftovers as the item, so it helps with its longevity. T-Bolt, Knockoff, and Psychic as my coverage, along with Taunt. So that combination of moves allows me to do a lot of scouting in this game, and that's really key in Game 1 in my opinion. I'm able to scout for his items using Knockoff, in addition to knocking off really any berries that are trying to get in the way of the likes of my own Nidoqueen or my Thunderous, or I guess if he has a Chill on Berry, that would help for the Lopunny as well. So Knockoff overall is really, really nice in a Game 1 scenario, and I really don't think he will bring, things expecting that. So that is the plan there. Yeah, nothing else to say on that. Taunt, of course, to deny recovery to keep things in range of Mega Lopunny late game. Then Starmie is my dedicated spinner. Colbur Berry, it has Scald and Hidden Power Grass as my coverage moves, so that essentially I can hit pretty much everything. I also have Toxic on this in case Lottie is his initial switch in, as given the threat that Latias is to my team, then I really want to Toxic that. And as you'll see, I guess, throughout the battle, I have Toxic on several things. At least I think in this game I have it on 2 things, on Arcanine and Starmie. So I have a lot of ways to Toxic the Latias, as that's really essential moving forward here. And then my last move is Rapid Spin. I'm not running Recovery on this because he has a Weavile on his team. He didn't bring it to this game. I kind of disagree with that. He probably should have brought Weavile, but Starmie's going to be able to stick around a little bit more now because Weavile is not here, and I guess it's a little bit unfortunate I don't have Recover in this situation, but I should still be able to get rid of the hazards if he decides to hazard stack or even just put up Stealth Rocks, which is still pretty important for my defensive Arcanine, which I'll talk about. So this is enough speed to outpace Modest or Adamant Max Speed Nidoqueen. It is Rocky Helmet, Intimidate, very defensive, designed to take on the Mega Lopunny, the Talonflame, and to an extent the Weavile, although I do not want to lose my Rocky Helmet if I can help it. So yeah, it's pretty good at achieving that, especially because he did not bring Weavile, so it should be able to do a lot of work in this game. And then it has Extreme Speed Overheat, Extreme Speed to pick off as fast things like T-Flame and the Mega Lopunny, and of course the Weavile, and then Overheat to deal about 50% to most Nidoqueen spreads, just in case he thinks that's a check, as I do have enough speed to outpace any Nidoqueen that he would bring. He has no reason to bring plus speed Nidoqueen, so I'm definitely expecting neutral speed Nidoqueen in this game, maybe even drop speed if he wants to bring Sucker Punch, so something to keep in mind there. But Overheat does do a ton to that, and just the Overheat damage should put it in range of things like my own Nidoqueen, things like my Thunderous, and maybe with a little additional prior damage in range of Return for Mega Lopunny as well. So yeah, overall that set's pretty effective here. And then we have the Clefable, which is fully offensive, in that I have Modest Max Special Attack Life Orb with 3 attacks, and Soft Boiled, and then I do have enough speed to outpace 0 speed Skarmory, in case he's a Iron Head variant. I do have T-Bolt on this, and I can do a million to Skarmory with that, so I also wanted to be able to hit him before he roosts, so that's also why that's pretty effective there. Moonblast for obvious reasons, and then Ice Beam so that I can lure in the Nidoqueen, as whenever I hit Nidoqueen with a Life Orb Ice Beam, it does a lot of damage, especially if it's offensive, and that damage easily puts the Nidoqueen in range of everything else, which as long as I get one hit off against the Nidoqueen without losing a Pokemon, then the Nidoqueen's not really a threat to me. It's just a matter of getting that hit off without having to take a million myself. So that's kind of something to be playing around with in this game. And then my Nidoqueen is somewhat of an anti-lead. Not really the best Nidoqueen set, but I didn't want to reveal the best Nidoqueen set in Game 1 either. I'll talk about that more when we get to Game 2, but this set is Smackdown, Earth Power, Ice Beam, and Stealth Rock. So obviously Stealth Rock's are nice when he has a T-Flame, because he does have T-Flame. Going to be making an effort to put those rocks up as early as possible and put the pressure on him that way. And then Earth Power hits, you know, it's a good stab. It hits his own Nidoqueen, hits the Weavile if he brought it, hits Lop, it hits the Gastro as well. He does have the Skarm and the Lottie to resist or to be immune to it, but that's why I have Smackdown. Definitely in the case of Skarmory, for the Latias I do have Ice Beam, so overall this does a decent amount of damage to his team. I don't have much offensive investment, but I do have enough to where it should be something he has to be concerned about. So that's my team. He brought, see if I can remember everything he brought. This was like a modest Life Orb Nidoqueen. This is a Taunt Bulk, not Taunt, it was just Bulk Up Spadef, I think Sub, on the Talonflame. The Latias is a Trick Scarf set, obviously designed to take on my Clefable. This thing was Rocky Helmet, Skarmory. Gastrodon was Fizdef, or probably mixed defenses, leaning towards Fizdef, which actually proved to be a little bit of an issue for my team. And then this set, I believe, was also Jolly, Mega Lopunny. I don't think he had Quick Attack on it, but I know he had, I think he had Fake Out in Game 1 and Toxic and some other stuff. I don't know his entire spread, but we talked about it a little bit before, but that's kind of what I remember on that. So let's go ahead and jump on into the battle. So I lead off with my Nidoqueen, as he leads off with his Mega Lopunny, and this is a very free switch for me into my Arcanine, and I'm going to go ahead and show off that Rocky Helmet here, as the Fake Out is an essential play on his end if he has it. He can't just stay in and click Return or Toxic, which he turns out to have versus a Nidoqueen, because Nidoqueen is sometimes going to be the counter to Lopunny, so he can't really make that risk. But expecting him to switch into Latias, I do just go ahead and fire off a Toxic, which is pretty nice. I knew he could have gone into Latias or Gastro there, and Toxic was easily the play either way. Here I go into my Clef, and he reveals the Trick, which is kind of unfortunate. Not exactly unexpected, but he does give me a Choice Scarf, and because I am more offensive, that's actually not the worst thing in the world. The only problem here is, I'm going to pause, the only problem here is that now Gastrodon becomes a little bit more of an issue because I didn't bring Tangrowth on my team, as now I don't really have the best ways to switch into Gastrodon and heal up, as Starmie doesn't have recovery and Clefable can't really recover without being a sitting duck. So yeah, Gastrodon became a little bit more of an issue because of the Trick, and I'll have to play around that very, very carefully here. I do just go for the Ice Beam, expecting him to probably try to switch hard into Nidoqueen to get up his Stealth Rocks, and I do manage to catch him with the Ice Beam, which is lovely. So now my dedicated switch in is actually my own Nidoqueen. I also did, even though I was Choice Scarfed, I did want to scout and see if he was a Choice Scarf Queen of his own, because that was obviously very offensive damage versus him with the Ice Beam. So we do trade rocks here, which is just fine with me, as he does go into his Latias. I predict that switch and go for Ice Beam, so I'm definitely in his head a little bit here early in the game, which is getting me in a really nice position moving forward, as now he's going to be forced to go back into his Nidoqueen, likely sacking it. Probably not sacking it, actually, probably predicting my Clefable, which is I actually don't know what he's doing on that play. I didn't need to talk to him on that one, actually, but because I do go into my Clef, as it's pretty expendable versus the Latias, because I do have the Choice Scarf. I do just go hard into it, as he makes a nice switch into his Nidoqueen, and then he goes into Gastrodon on the Moonblast. Takes a ton because I'm Modest Max, and that's pretty neat, as now I'm going to take this as an opportunity to go ahead and click Rapid Spin, as he doesn't really have any way to deter that. He makes a good play, goes hard into Lopunny, trying to put some pressure on me, but because I have the rocks away, Arcanine is a free switch in here, and he had Toxic. He definitely should have clicked it here, but it did go for the Return instead, and I take barely more damage than he takes from Rocky Helmet, so that's pretty neat. Here I'm going to go for the Morning Sun, as it's proven that Arcanine is a huge problem for his team, and now I'm going to switch hard on out into my Starmie, as I do have Toxic on this. I am convinced he's a Rendoberry Gastrodon, because I have not seen leftovers, and he's not dealing out offensive damage, so he's probably a Rendoberry Gastrodon, so I'm not just going to straight click Hidden Power Grass. Even if I did, it would have done 0 to the Skarmory anyways, so we're going to go ahead and drop a Toxic, and unfortunately Skarmory doesn't care about that, so so much for that, I guess. But now I'm going to go ahead and switch hard on out into my Thundurus, as it applies a lot of offensive pressure to him. I do anticipate Stealth Rocks to be coming out here as well, and I decide to click Knock Off as he leaves his Skarmory in, so it turns out Skarmory is his counter to the Thundurus, so that's interesting moving forward for sure. But I do knock off the Rocky Helmet, which is really nice for the Lopunny, as now I'm going to go hard into Lopunny, go ahead and Fake Out and get my Mega off, just in case we have Speed Ties later on and whatnot. I don't want to click Fake Out, so now I'm going to go hard into my Nidoqueen, as it's a pretty safe switch into the thing, and just in case he Whirlwinds again, I might be able to get Thundurus in, so that'd be pretty cool. Here, I actually revealed the Smackdown, which may not have been the best play, but overall I thought it was okay, because the worst he could do was go Gastrodon, and I still had Clef around to deal with that. As here, he makes a double Probably, he might have been expecting Starmie, actually. I think he was probably expecting Starmie by going into Lop there, but I do have enough bulk on this to be able to take hits from Low Plenty, despite the fact that I'm more offensive, so that's kind of cool. He is forced out after the fake out, as I do actually go into my Arcanine just in case. I didn't really want to take that extra damage, as I needed Clef to be able to switch into Gastrodon. As you can see, I don't really have great switch-ins to it. The crit there kind of was unfortunate, as he did go for Scald, but then again, I just need to keep this thing low, because if I keep it low enough to where I either run him out of recovers, which is somewhat what's going to look like I'm doing here, or just low enough to where it's in range of things like my Starmie or in range of things like my Thundurus and my Low Plenty, then that's really good enough. As here, I do expect him to either Whirlwind or Predict a Switch and double out, and I stay in a Moonblast again, as, yeah, that worked out pretty well. I'm able to get off more damage, burn more recovers here, and this is really going to burn like 5 more recovers, as at this point I'm a little concerned about Gastrodon, just a little bit concerned, because it's just really a nuisance to my team with this thing not being able to recover up. But again, like I said, if I just keep the offensive pressure on it, it shouldn't be able to be healthy this game, and that's kind of the goal. So yeah, we're going to go through this exchange for a while, and essentially my goal is just to set up the sweep with Low Plenty. So if I'm able to achieve that, that'd be pretty cool. With Skarmory not having his Rocky Helmet anymore, that becomes a lot more manageable. Here he makes a very, very risky play and goes hard into his Skarmory trying to heal it up, which I can respect the play. He's very fortunate I didn't get any crits in that process, but he is going to be able to get himself up to a lot of health here. I'm going to predict another Roost and go into my Thundurus, as that's looking really, really nice here, at least to where I could wear him down further with a combination of coverage and taunt. So I'm just going to click T-Bolt here, somewhat of a 50-50, easily could have gone into his Gastrodon, but T-Bolt was my play, as he left in Skarm last time, and I was not going to let him do that again, and he does decide to sack his Skarm. So that was easily the misplay of the match on his end, and he understands that for sure, as that just opens the door wide open for Mega Low Plenty, as Mega Low Plenty can now only click normal coverage and take out the rest of his team. So that's certainly the goal now moving forward, as now I'm going to go into my own Lop. I'm going to bluff a speed tie, and it is a speed tie, but not really, because I have double priority, as I'm able to go for Fake Out plus Quick Attack and take out the Lop. Now he goes into his only way to win the game at this point, and that is Talonflame. So I will pause. Here's the situation. So he could be many different Talonflame sets. He could be offensive, he could be Bulk Up, he could be Swords Dance. Those are the 3 that are most concerning at this point. So let's talk about, I guess, Bulk Up versus Swords Dance. So if he is Bulk Up Talonflame, that means he's probably Spadef, because it's kind of rare to see a non-bulky Talonflame run Bulk Up. Okay, so I'm assuming it's Spadef, which makes sense considering I have Nidoqueen, Starmie, and Arcanine and all that stuff. So I'm assuming he's Bulk Up first of all. So if he is a Bulk Up Talonflame, that means he clicks Bulk Up here, obviously. He has to Bulk Up if he wants any chance to win. Okay, because if I leave my Low Plenty in, I guess I kill it anyways, but he's basically threatening Brave Bird, so he's expecting me to switch out. If he clicks Brave Bird into my Arcanine, then obviously he's going to die, because the combination of recoil from Brave Bird plus Rocky Helmet plus Extreme Speed will take him out to where he won't be able to recover up because of rocks, and just because of dying to Extreme Speed. So he probably is not clicking Brave Bird here. That said, I cannot and will not risk my Mega Low Plenty unless it was absolutely necessary to do so, as Mega Low Plenty is my very clear win con at this stage in the game. So I'm going to switch. The question is, what do I switch into? What can I switch into to prevent him from winning right here with Bulk Up? The only logical switch in is my Thundurus T, if he is a Bulk Up set, because Thundurus is at a range of health where I will be able to survive a minimally invested in attack +1 Brave Bird from Talonflame. And if he has Flare Blitz, then I'll lose this, but that also means that I can beat it with Arcanine, because he would not have Taunt or Toxic. So so that's kind of the thought process if he's Bulk Up. If he is Swords Dance and I go into my Thundurus, I'll likely lose my Thundurus on the following turn, but if he is Swords Dance, that means that he will not be able to get defensive boosts, also meaning that the combination of Mega Low Plenty plus Arcanine's priority and just general being a nuisance will be able to take him out. So that's how I prevent him from winning this game. This was his way to win, though, and I'm going to go ahead and act appropriately there, as I'm going to go into my Thundurus. He does reveal the Bulk Up, which makes sense against my team for sure. It turned out to be Bulk Up Sub, I believe, which was kind of interesting. I definitely would advise Taunt over Sub against my team, but it is what it is, and he just goes for Roost. I reveal that I am max special attack by doing a ton with Thunderbolt, but man, Talon is really bulky, so he was still able to chew that up pretty well, which is pretty interesting. But T-Bolt still my play regardless of if he goes into Gastrodon, as now, because Talonflame is weakened, it's easily in range of my priority, and nothing else on my team is going to give him an opportunity to recover. So I'm just going to go for the knockoff to knock off the Rindo Berry, make sure I can beat the Gastrodon with my Starmie later on, and then we're going to fire off a Taunt just in case he wants to recover. He actually switches out into his Latias to try to get off a Defog, which is a very good play on his part, trying to win with Talonflame again, but Taunt also works out there. I did not predict that, but it does make sense, and I was pretty fortunate that that worked out there, and I outsped anyway, so that's also pretty cool, as he was a very bulky Latias, despite the fact that he was Choice Scarfed initially, and my Thundurus was able to outpace it. So now he goes to Nidoqueen, trying to burn a turn of my burn to take me out, I suppose, as I just go for another knockoff and didn't really want to reveal Psychic at this stage in the game because I did really feel wrapped up, and revealing Psychic just gives him more insight into my head that I don't really want to give him. So that was my thought process there, as now I'm going to be able to clean up the game with my Mega Lopunny with the combination of Fake Out plus Return plus Quick Attack, and we will take Game 1 against the Harlem Gloomtrotters in the NPL PPL Wars. So that was an interesting game. Obviously, it was really just came down to one misplay on his end with leaving the Skarmory in versus my Thundurus, as he knew that was very important in dealing with my Lopunny. That said, after Rocks, I would be doing a ton with High Jump Kick to it anyways. Not quite a 2-hit KO, but it would do a lot to where he'd be forced to recover. I'd be able to bring in Thundurus over and over and over again and pressure him over and over and over again to where I think I would have been able to win anyways, but it would have been much closer, most certainly here. This game was a lot closer than the score indicates because it all came down to that one play. So definitely good game there, but let's go ahead and hop over to Game 2, and we'll talk a little bit about this team. So things that I noticed in the last game, or just things that I thought about after the last game happened. Knockoff was a problem for him, so I do kind of think that he will prep in some way for Knockoff. And by that I mean he'll possibly bring Sticky Hold on Gastrodon. He also just might not hard switch Nidoqueen into my Thundurus because he has like a Pyapa Berry or an Assault Vest or something really important on that. So I do expect him to prep more heavily for Knockoff. I also expect him to run some ways to deal with Arcanine, because I pretty much made it clear that Arcanine was my way to respond to Lop, to respond to T-Flame, and to respond to Weavile. So I do expect him to bring, the Weavile to get rid of my Rocky Helmet, but he also could bring some nasty stuff like Toxic. He could bring like more setup threats to weaken me down, that kind of thing. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on Arcanine, and that's why I decided to also bring a more defensive Clefable this week. That said, the defensive Clefable still has an offensive flair in that I am running Life Orb. I have a little special attack investment. I think it was like 64 or something like that for my special attack investment, but I'll talk more about the Clef set here in a second. So let's go back to the Lopunny. So Mega Lopunny, same as last time, no change. Thundurus, very, very bulky. Okay, this is like bold, max HP, nearly max defense. No, bold, max defense, nearly max HP, I believe, with a little bit of speed to outpace like modest max speed Nidoqueen or something like that. Yeah, that's what it was. The coverage on that is Hidden Power Grass. Yeah, Hidden Power Grass, Psychic, T-Bolt, and Toxic. Yeah, Toxic was the last move. So essentially my whole team is designed to not let the Latias beat me, because Latias, I think I talked about this earlier, Latias, if it's defensive Calm Mind with sub, can beat my entire team. Like with Store Power, it doesn't matter if I'm unaware Clef. It beats my entire team. And that's exactly what he is in this game. Spoilers, he is Calm Mind, sub, Store Power, defensive Latias. And that's freaking terrifying, but I am prepped very heavily for it as well, as you'll see here moving forward. As I do have Toxic on Arcanine, I have Toxic on Thundurus, as well as Toxic on my Starmie. So, as you can see, I'm pretty terrified of it, and yeah, so that's the Thundurus set, designed to beat the Talonflame, which he actually did not bring this game, which I disagree with as well. But I mean, it's still a good team that he brought. I just felt bulk up Talonflame was such a menace to my team that it really you couldn't not bring it. But maybe he was saving it for Game 3. I don't know. But there's that. And then Arcanine is very similar to last time, only difference being that I have now Roar instead of extreme speed, as again that Latias set is terrifying. He knows that the tricking mechanic or the tricking strategy with Latias wasn't super effective against me, and we talked about that after the fact, so that's why I guess I'm so concerned about a defensive Latias in this game, and it was also just the most common set I would see in my mock battles, so prepping extra heavily for that I felt was a worthwhile decision. So Roar on Arcanine as well. Nidoqueen, I did bring the best set of this week in my opinion, that being Super Fang Taunt, as the combination of Super Fang and Taunt does put everything on his team in range of Mega Lopunny, so especially after Stealth Rock, that is, so or after another switch in of Stealth Rock after the Super Fang. You understand the point. Yeah, it's pretty good in combination with Lopunny, especially against this team, and that is what I plan to abuse in this game. I also have Stealth Rock as well as Earth Power for general coverage, and general being the best move in the game, potentially, in Stealth Rock. So there's that. Clefable is more defensively invested. It is also Life Orb, as I mentioned before. Now let's talk about the moveset a little bit, as it's the most controversial moveset in the entire war. Yeah, controversial, as it's running Attract. And before you hate me, let me explain. So in the NPL, at least before now, it's banned now, but it was not banned in previous seasons, so I figured it was okay, nothing wrong with it. Kind of a mean strategy to use, but it was allowed, so I considered it. And Latias is always female, so we making Clefable male and running Attract to beat sub CM Latias. So yeah, that's what we did, and it's actually banned in the PPL, and I was not aware of that. So you know, if I was aware of that, I probably would not have run it, but it is what it is, and we're running it, and it's pretty effective. So you'll see how that works here as we go forward. But unfortunately for me, I guess he only has two females, those being the Latias and Nidoqueen. That said, those are probably the two that I most want to attract anyways, outside of the Gastrodon, so it works out pretty well there. And coverage on it, I believe, again, was Moonblast and Ice Beam. Is Moonblast, Ice Beam, Attract, and Soft Boiled, so no T-Bolt this time, but that's because I realized that T-Bolt really isn't amazing in terms of checking Talonflame if I'm not like fully special attack invested, so there's that. And then Starmie, which is similar to last time, although now because I did expect Weavile to come as a means of getting rid of my Arcanine's Rocky Helmet, I am making this a pure lure in that I am Culpa Berry, again very defensive, but I do have Hidden Power Fighting on this to take out the Weavile after a round of Rocky Helmet or after Stealth Rock, so that's pretty helpful there. Rapid Spin as well as Grass Knot and Scald as my coverage. So I've got a lot of stuff to deal with Gastrodon. He could bring Rindoberry Gastrodon, but he saw how well I prepared for Rindoberry in Game 1, so I don't think he'll bring Rindoberry, and that's why I feel more comfortable bringing stuff like Coverage Grass on my Thundurus and Covered Grass on my Starmie. So that is my team. His team, I'll try to remember the best I can. The Gastrodon is actually Expert Belt with a bit of speed, quite a bit of speed on it, which is kind of cool. It's Expert Belt with Scald, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, and Ice Beam. So definitely a very scary set that he brought, as I don't switch into Gastrodon particularly well, even if I had brought Tangrowth because of Sludge Wave and Ice Beam. So offensive Gastrodon is a bigger threat than I gave it credit for, and you'll see how I struggle around that early in the game here soon. Nidoqueen is Assault Vest this time with more offensive, or more physically offensive moveset, and Super Fang, and then Rock Slide, and I think that was all that was revealed, but some other physically offensive moves I imagine. Weavile is Knockoff plus Toxic. I believe it also had Icicle Crash. I did not see the last move, but pretty interesting set there to try to break down the Arcanine, so kind of a cool idea there. Skarmory, I believe, was pretty similar. Rocky Helmet, again, I imagine Stealth Rocks and other standard Skarmory things. And then the Latias, I already talked about that. Sub-CM, very, very terrifying, and Mega Lopunny probably was similar as well, with being Jolly Max Speed. I believe it had Toxic again, and general Mega Lopunny coverage. So yeah, sorry I don't have the best insight on exactly what his team is, but I'm just trying to remember what he told me whenever we recorded this the first time, so there's that. And let's go ahead and jump on into the match real quick. So I lead off with my Nidoqueen, as again it's a dedicated anti-lead, as he leads off with his Dabo-Dee-Dabo-Da, the Gastrodon, as I'm going to go hard into my Clef, as it's my dedicated initial switch in. I see that that is a lot of damage, as yeah, so he's obviously max special attack modest. That's one thing. So Scald did 1,000,000, and then he reveals the Sludge Wave, but before the Sludge Wave I did run some calcs, and my spread was actually able to take on even a modest Expert Belt Gastrodon from that range and survive Sludge Wave, excuse me, guaranteed unless he got a crit. So I did feel safe staying in and going for the Soft Boil to scout if he was Expert Belt. He definitely is Expert Belt because that almost killed me. And now I'm going to switch into my Thunders because this was, again, a kind of a risky play. I don't have the best switch into this, though. Like, I really don't have great switch into this. My best switching, quote-unquote, was Starmie, and that's why I felt he would go for Earth Power or Sludge Wave on this turn. Most likely Earth Power. And with that in mind, I felt my safest switch was Thunderous. I'm also nearly max HP. I believe I'm max HP. I think it's max HP with a lot of defense. So I'll be able to take any hit as long as it's not Ice Beam. So I do make that play. Fortunately, I get it right that he did go for Earth Power, as now I'm going to go ahead and drop Toxic as he goes into Nidoqueen. So that's a little scary. I just stay in and click Psychic because I know I can take any hit. I'm actually, with the investment I have, that's what it is. With the investment I have, I am guaranteed to survive a modest max special attack Life Orb Ice Beam from Nidoqueen versus this Thunder. So that's pretty nice. So that's why I stay in there. He did not bring Talonflame, so this is not like essential in this matchup like it would have been otherwise. So I went for a relatively safe Psychic as he goes for Super Fang. So that's cool. Because he has Super Fang, I don't know if he's special or physical or maybe neither. He does reveal Ice, the Rock Slide, and and we live in 1%. So it turns out that was a mid roll versus my spread. So that's pretty cool. I was able to get a nice roll in my favor there, even though it was like a 50-50 roll if he was going to be able to kill. So it was a mid roll, not a min roll. I'm not sure if that was enunciated very well. So we do survive that, which is pretty nice. And now it's a 50-50 in that, does he have Sucker Punch? Does he not have Sucker Punch? My best play is to scout for Sucker Punch by clicking Toxic, because he's not just going to sack this. He has no reason to just sack this whenever it switches in well to Clef still, and still could be nice fodder to my Lopunny later on or something. So also because he just has a Gastrodon sitting there as well as a Weavile if I'm clicking Psychic. So I think his play is either to stay in and Sucker Punch if he has it, or go hard into the Latias or the Weavile. So my play is to click Toxic, and he goes for Sucker. So we do know what his set is, and now it is a pure 50-50. My thought process was that he'll probably predict my switch, as that's generally what I do in situations like these, and I just decided to stay in a Psychic because of it. So it's not really a super in-depth thought process there. It was a pure 50-50, and luckily I did get that correct on that turn. As now I'm a little worried he might pursue me, but now Thundurus is actually really pretty useful against the rest of his team, especially if I'm able to take out the Latias with my Clefable. So I do go hard into my Arcanine versus the Weavile, hoping he did not have Pursuit, and turns out he goes for Toxic plus Knockoff, gets rid of my Rocky Helmet, which makes my Lopunny a bit more of a threat actually, as now I go for Toxic again. I'm kind of spraying and praying on these Toxics, hoping he goes into Latias on one of them, because I really need to hit the Latias with the Toxic badly, because there's no guarantee I'll be able to beat it with Clef, because Clef, I didn't talk about this before, is at 52%, so a Calm Mind Latias can beat me right now unless I get my health back with this, so that's not great, to say the least. So I'm looking for opportunities to get my health back with my Clef sooner rather than later, as now I'm going to go for the Morning Sun, because he flinched me down with an Icicle Crash. He was not going for the flinch there. He was actually trying to sack his Weavile to the Arcanine so that he could get his Latias into setup for free. So I understand that play. That makes a lot of sense. But he got the flinch, which sucks. But it's fine. It forces me to Morning Sun, and he's able to get in where he wants to be anyways. So I'm just going to click Roy here as a panic button, because you know, if he sets up a sub, Clef is too weak right now. It's not great for my well-being if I let him have a free substitute, and I was willing to sacrifice Arcanine to a Draco in order to prevent a substitute or potential Calm Mind from the Latias. So that was why I made that play. Here I am just going to sack this off, because my best way to heal up Clef is versus this Weavile, so I do let him kill me. And I'm going to go in my Clefable and try to heal up here, as, like I said, I can't really heal up on anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and click Soft Boil and pray he does not flinch me with Icicle Crash, and he does not, so thank God. We are able to get our health back here with Clef, as now Clefable is looking like it's in a much better position to be able to deal with the Latias now that I am at full health. As now I'm going to go hard into my, I believe my Thundurus, as because I'm so bulky, I don't fear anything from this Skarmory. Even if he goes for Brave Bird, I have enough bulk to be able to take that from that range. I'm pretty confident. So here he actually makes a nice double into his Latias, as now I don't fear switching hard into Clef against this, as he does go for sub again, and here is where things go down. As he goes for Calm Mind, I am going to just click that attract button, which does go through substitute for those of you who have never used attract before. Pretty cool mechanic there. But yeah, it happens, and the chat kind of blows up. I don't feel bad, but I kind of do because of the rule discrepancy, but, you know, it is what it is, and I'm just going to keep clicking Moonblast because I am Life Orb. I'm able to do enough damage to him now that his Roselli Berry has been popped to where I'll be able to beat him 1v1 unless I just miss all of my embolizations from the attract. So this set did its job. Fortunately, definitely fortunately, because I'm not wishing for hacks at any point in this game. Fortunately, he breaks through and is able to do a bunch of damage to me with stored power, so it's not like I totally hacked out with Latias. That was not the intention. The intention was to not lose to this set, not to beat him with it. So, yeah, I'm glad that he was able to break out and click stored power and do a bunch of damage to my Clef, but I do manage to take out the Latias, so with all said and done, it could have been a lot worse on his end. It could have been a lot worse on my end, so I think it's okay overall. He does just go into low punny. I can't heal this up on anything else anymore, so I'm just going to sack this off and go into my Starmie. As now, here's where it gets really tricky, because I'm still in a tough position. That's because I lost my Clef, and he still has this Mega Low Punny at full health. I lost Clef and Arcanine. Both of my real responses to the Mega Low Punny are dead. That said, I do have my Nidoqueen, which is at full health, and pretty bulky, so I can still take hits from the Low Punny with my Nidoqueen. This is also a very bulky Starmie, which I really don't need for anything else at this point in the game. It's kind of nice for the Gastrodon, but I do have between these other three Pokemon, I should be able to beat Gastrodon, and really the biggest threat is this thing right now. So trying to beat the Low Bunny. So what I did is I brought this thing in trying to bluff a Choice Scarf, hoping he would switch. Turns out he has Protect. So now it's like, well, okay, I'm not Choice Scarf, so I'm going to take a big hit no matter what. And essentially, I'm just going to stay in. And it comes down to, do I get a Scald Burn on this? As I guess if I get the Scald Burn, then I win pretty easily with my fat stuff, because he won't be able to break through me anymore. But if I don't get the Scald Burn, then I'm going to do enough damage. I'll do enough damage to this to where it would come down to a speed tie, I think. Yeah, that's what would happen. So if I don't get the Scald Burn, it would come down to a speed tie between our Mega Lopunnies to determine who wins the game. And this, going into Starmie, was an effort to prevent a speed tie determining the result. And it basically just maximizes my chances of winning by going for the Scald Burn first. If I get it, cool, moving forward. If I don't get it, then we go to the speed tie option to try to beat this thing. And that's kind of the goal here. So moving forward, he goes for Protect, Scouting, because he thinks I'm Choice Scarfed, and if I am Choice Scarfed, he can probably just take me out with a return, but I'm not Choice Scarfed, and I do get the burn. So, very nice for me. Very, very nice. And, yeah, that's beautiful, because now it's going to be really, really hard for him to bring it back, as I'm going to go into my Nidoqueen knowing that he is burned. Now, this thing really isn't super useful outside of getting Stealth Rocks, and that's what I'm going to go for here, because if I get Stealth Rocks up, the combination of Mega Lopunny plus my own Thundurus does win the game 100%. As I do have super effective coverage for the Gastrodon. It's proven to be more offensive, so it's not going to eat a Hidden Power Grass at all. And the Starmie, as long as it's sturdy as broken, cannot beat me either. Now here I'm going to break down the Gastrodon with a Super Fang, just to make sure it is in range of my Thundurus. And now, because I am a Leftovers Thundurus, I want to make sure I get myself back above Stealth Rock damage. So I do just go straight for the Hidden Power Grass here, chewing up the Leftovers. Now he's down to Weavile and Skarmory. As he goes Weavile, again, I'm a little worried about Pursuit, but he's not Life Orb. I am very, very bulky. I think I could take it if I stayed in, but it's not worth that risk, as I do go into my Starmie, trying to guaranteed win the game with Thundurus on the following turn, knowing he would die to Toxic, expecting him to go for something like a knockoff there, but no, he makes a good play, which actually, I think his thought process was more that he wanted to be able to hit the Lopunny if I decided to switch in there, but like, I don't want to do that, because that just lets his Skarmory heal up on me. So I don't know if I agree with that reasoning, but the reasoning that I would have used in that position for that play is that if I go for Icicle Crash here, then there's still a chance that he can choke and not win. Because if he goes for Icicle Crash, Starmie stays alive. Maybe he can do some shenanigans with a Skarmory. But if he kills my Starmie, then I just win with Thundurus immediately, because Skarmory's going to die. So it was a good play. It gave him another couple chances for me to choke, but all in all, I am not going to choke, as he does put up a Stealth Rock, probably thinking my Thundurus was in range of dying, but I am at 30% now after the Leftovers recovery, and I just go for the Rapid Spin, knowing that it will not spin the rocks away, but it just speeds up the process, and that he is burned, he's guaranteed to die to a T-Bolt at this range, and that's what's going to happen here, as now I'm going to click T-Bolt and Skarm will go down, and we do win this series 2-0. So that was an intense series for sure. This last game especially could have gone either direction, certainly, as it really just came down to the skull burn. It came down to what happened with Attract. So really just a solid series played between two good players in draft format, and that's really a cool way to round out this generation. As like I was saying before, I started off my career in draft format playing this man. Well, not necessarily playing, it was my second game, but my first win was against him, and now my last win in this generation is also against him, so that's pretty fun for sure for me. But like I said, very solid draft player. Go check out his channel, it will be in the description below, and also shout outs to the PPL for really a very competitive war. Very, very competitive. It came down to the wire, and yeah, it was just very fun overall. I'm glad we were able to take part in this. I also recommend that you check out the other coaches around the NPL and the PPL, as a lot of us are uploading these war battles. Particularly check out the NPL Twitter, as we are trying to reference people to all of these uploads as they come out. So check out that. That'll help you stay in touch on everyone else. But at the end of this battle, the score of the war stood at 7-3 in favor of the NPL. So this was a pretty big win for sure, as now we're one win away. And we have several battles, several sets that are already in progress at this point. So there's a lot of different ways that the NPL can close out this set, or this war, but it just depends on who's going to be the one to take it home. So we'll just kind of see on that. Just stay tuned to the other uploads around the league, and I hope you'll enjoy those as well. But thank you for watching, guys. My voice is dying. I apologize. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in Gen 7. Peace.